So this story was about a decade ago when I was about 7 or 8. I used to live in South Korea, and one of the major differences it has with the West is that nearly everyone lives in 10-story apartments due to small land area. Because of that, you can't avoid using elevators, which leads to a high number of elevator-related crimes in South Korea. Anyway, I returned from school like normal, at about 4 because Asian children study hardcore, went to my apartment and waited for the elevator to come. A different male also boarded the elevator with me. I'm not sure how I remember all this, especially since I have a really bad memory and I was quite young back then, but the man was essentially dressed exactly like the stereotypical criminals you see in dramas. He had a black cap, black jacket, sunglasses, and a frickin' medical mask. Yeah, it was creepy, but I don't think I thought much of it at that point. I pressed the 6th floor button, and I distinctly remember him pressing the button for the top floor. Note. This is done by most elevator criminals to make sure that they don't get off before you. The doors to my floor opened, but when I tried to get off, the guy suddenly grabbed onto my backpack and didn't let me go. I watched, bewildered, as the doors closed. I quickly mashed the open button and the door started to open again, but the guy still held onto my backpack. I wasn't getting the hint and was wondering what the fuck, why is this guy so intent on making me annoyed? Then for some reason the guy picked me up like a puppy. One minute I was trying to get off my floor, then I suddenly find my feet dangling 5 feet in midair. I finally understood that the man was a criminal with bad intentions and started struggling, punching, and kicking in midair. All of a sudden, he just let me drop to the floor, and I ran the hell out of the elevator screaming my ass off. Not sure why, but even after I told my mom about the event, we didn't think to call the police. Now that I think back, we clearly should have. He was probably a soon-to-be registered pedo or kidnapper. For a long while after the event, I only took stairwells instead of elevators, which is actually even more dangerous than taking elevators. I wasn't the smartest kid. So, creepy pedo in the elevator? Let's not meet ever again. I'm sorry, I'm a little flustered, so this might not be the easiest thing to hear. I'm a karaoke DJ. I usually get home between 2 and 3 a.m., but tonight I got off around 11 because the bar had a power outage. I live alone in a triplex behind a house. I live in the middle of a city, but the property I'm on is rather large, so there is a big backyard behind my apartment. As I was coming home tonight, I noticed that my cats weren't waiting for me in the window. They can hear my van pulling into the driveway. They are in the window every night, no exceptions. I thought it was odd. Then I noticed that my kitchen light was on. I never leave my kitchen light on. At this point, I was a little freaked out. That's when I thought I saw movement in my kitchen. I called 911 and the dispatcher told me to lock my van doors and remain in the vehicle and stay on the line. Officers showed up very quickly, less than 5 minutes. They parked on the street and walked up to my van. They asked me to stay quiet and give them my house key. One officer went to the back of my apartment and the other used my key to unlock the door. When he opened the door, all was quiet. Then he yelled really loud, telling someone to come out. I heard the police officer that was in my backyard start yelling, and the other officer ran out to join him. My neighbors had come outside at this point, and I was freaking out. It seemed like a long time, but they walked a cuffed woman toward me, and it turns out it was a patron that I had 86'd last week. I don't know how she found out where I lived. She was hiding in my bedroom closet with a very large knife and a bundle of rope. I don't want to think about what would have happened if I had gone to bed with her waiting for me. I will be taking a gun safety course soon, but really, before I found this subreddit, I wouldn't have noticed all the little things that were out of the ordinary tonight. Reading these events have taught me to be more observant. So, drunk idiot that thought she was going to shank me? Let's not meet. Especially after I get protection. It was the summer of 1992. I was 20 years old, and I had just completed my junior year of college, and I was staying in the same city as the campus to take some summer classes. I also worked a couple of part-time jobs to handle living expenses. One of my jobs was as a food delivery guy. We cooked and delivered steaks, chicken, and burgers instead of the usual pizza or Asian food. One night after completing my shift, I was bored, and for laughs, decided to check out an adult movie and novelty store that I had sometimes seen in the course of all my driving for that job. I parked amongst several other cars and got out of my car to go into the store. I saw a middle-aged man with a pasty appearance, greasy hair, and a receding hairline in the car parked closest to the store. I approached the car on the way in, no way around it really, and he raised his hand hello to me. Not wanting to be rude, I raised my hand in return. As I walked directly by the driver's side door, he said, "Hey." Hello?" He leaned his head out of the window, and he said, "You want to get off?" Taken aback, I replied, "No," and hurried into the store. I browsed about, and put off by the sheer seediness of the place, quickly left. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the guy in his car in a different parking space. I got into my car and started out of the parking lot. As I got to the road, I saw the guy start his car and start to come out as well. Hoping this was coincidence, I turned out of the parking lot to go home. It wasn't coincidence. Suddenly, this guy was following me very closely, and blinking his high beams at me every few blocks. I tried to lose him at some traffic signals, but was unsuccessful. I decided to go an alternate route at that point, not wanting to direct this creep to where I was living. Luckily, my delivery job had made me familiar with a lot of the roads in the city. A particularly labyrinthine neighborhood, turned in, and took as complicated a route as I could, as quickly as I could, and finally lost him in there. I thought that was the end of it. A few weeks later, during work at the takeout place, I stopped at a convenience store in the course of a delivery to get a soda. After I checked out, I saw the same guy. He smiled and raised his hand hello again. I hurried outside to my car, but this time, I was in my shirt and hat from the takeout place. Now he knew where I worked. By the time I left the convenience store, he was following me again. Fortunately, I was able to lose him again, but spent the rest of the summer afraid to see him pop up at my place of work, or worse, order food, and bring me to his house. Thankfully, that did not happen. But, skeevy guy who likes to follow people, let's not meet again.